What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Waifuju Top 10 Endgame video. Today we are taking all the pitchers in MLB The Show 22, and I'm taking the top 10 best that I think exist in this game. This is probably the most variance that a list is going to have in terms of opinions. Like a lot of the other positions, it's kind of cut and dry. There's secondaries and all this. This is just starting pitchers, but a lot of you guys are going to tell me you really like this guy and he's not on the list. A lot of you guys are going to use a guy and say he sucks that is on the list. It is completely a user experience. So if your cards are good and I don't have them as good, don't yell at me. Just keep using them. If I say a card's good and you suck with them, don't use them. Don't force yourself into bad situations with guys you're uncomfortable with. That's just how it works. But these are the guys that I think are the best pitchers in the game. There's just so many, and there's so many good ones. So, let's just get right into it, okay? We do have a couple of honorable mentions, as we tend to do. I also have my camera a little bit down so you guys can see all the pitches directly above me. And the only stats I'm blocking are fielding and arm, and those don't really mean anything. So, number one honorable mention is going to be 99 overall Kerry Wood. Most people probably have this Kerry Wood, and if you do, you've probably used him quite a bit to try and get the extreme program done. I got him P5 from doing that. 52,000 other people also have him P5, so it makes a lot of sense. This Kerry Wood, again, at P5, 117, 125 per nines are amazing. Fastball, slurve, curveball, changeup, cutter. It's a really good pitch mix. All the speeds are crazy different. The only issue is some people read Kerry Wood really, really well. I am not a guy who does that, so he's on this list. Another honorable mention is going to be Framber Valdez, 113, 118 sinker cutter from the left side. He just doesn't throw quite hard enough to get into the list, but he's really close. He's one of the best 5 lefty pitchers in the game. So shout out to Framber and the postseason run he had. He was really good. Another honorable mention will probably cause a stir, but it is the 99 overall signature series, Randy Johnson. I have him on the honorable mentions because the better perfect game Randy is going to be on this list, as you could probably imagine. So I didn't want to have both of them in the top 10, taking away spots from maybe somebody else, but he's obviously one of the best. And the live series collection is super cheap. So now you can just go get it for it's like 100K. It's really, really cheap these days. So go get him if you don't already. Another great one is Chris Sale. Chris Sale cards perform really well, and this one's 120 across the board at a couple parallels. That's really, really good. Chris Sale is a feaster famine type of pitcher, and if you find a guy that can't hit him, he is cooked. Give him a shot if you haven't already. I have not seen a lot of people use this card, and he's still really good. Seaver's delivery is super sneaky. His pitch mix is great. Really, really good. It reminds me of Jake Arrieta from last year. He actually throws a little bit harder, too. So, Seaver's a dog, and you should try him if you haven't already. Okay, we got one more honorable mention. It's this Lefty Grove. They mutilated my boy. If he would have had 110 hit per nine, he would have easily been in the top 10. His pitch mix as a lefty is amazing. Just 97 hit per nine, just not it, Chief. Now, into the list we go. This is number 10. It's going to be a shock right off the bat, but we have this 99 overall Takashi Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson's card is usually something people sleep on, but I promise you, give him a shot. He is just like Nolan Ryan with more annoying of a delivery. He swings his arm a couple of times. He leans back. He throws it 102 miles an hour because he has outlier in the fastball, outlier 2 on the sinker. They're going to be different speeds too, which is definitely really good. A changeup and a curveball. 115, 119 hit per nine is really, really good as well. And 101 BB9. He's going to be able to control it very well. Also, Walter Johnson's actually just legitimately a good card. And he doesn't get a lot of love despite Nolan getting it all. He's really similar, and I personally have more of a hard time hitting him because of how long he takes to pitch. So, number 9 on this list, a lot of people will be upset about it, but it's just kind of the nature of the way this game is played this year. It's going to be 99 overall no-hitter Clayton Kershaw. The stats are there. The per nines are there. He has great control on his pitches. Even the pitch speeds are really good. The issue is he just doesn't throw hard enough. He taps out maybe at 95, 96. That's just not good enough to get good players out. 12-6 curveball is not a really good pitch this year, despite it being very good typically for Clayton in real life. It doesn't play in this game like it really should. And so it's going to be hard to get people out with that, especially if they're just spitting on it, because you do not want to throw that in the zone. It is a slow one, which is nice, but 121, 125 per nines are good enough to get you in on this list. He's better than Kershaw's we've got in the past in terms of stats. Not throwing this hard is really, really bad. And he's going to give up a lot of home runs because you're just not blowing it by a lot of people. The pitch mix is definitely super important, right? And this one's just okay. I think his pitch mix is good. He does lack. So he's on the list, but he's at number 9. Number 8 is going to be 99 overall Nolan Ryan. He is a little bit closer to Walter Johnson than you'd expect. I do think he is better than Walter Johnson because his fastball feels like it's 130 miles an hour, especially if you're playing on like a laggy stadium. But he's a really similar. He actually has way worse control than Walter Johnson. The same pitch mix. His sinker is lower on it, which actually makes the sinker worse than Walter Johnson's. And the difference is this one doesn't have outlier, which I do think is a benefit as opposed to Walter. The fastball and the sinker are two distinguishably different speeds as opposed to almost the same, getting closer to it. Having them be different is really nice. I mean, if you guys have faced Nolan, you know he's a terror, and these per 9s are crazy. If you get him P5, he's almost maxed out. It's annoying. It's stupid. Nolan Ryan. Here he is. Next up, after Nolan Ryan at number 7, we have this 99 overall perfect game, Roy Halladay. Roy is a beast. I wish his K per 9 was better. It gets a little hard to strike people out sometimes because you do get a lot of foul balls. He doesn't throw overly hard as well. He has the same kind of issue that Kershaw has, but he has better pitches, right? He has the cutter, he has a sinker. They're both high up, and they have good break, and they have good movement and control. Splitter is a really good pitch this year as well. Curveball and four seam. If he had a slider, he'd be even better, so that actually holds him back to similar-ish cards with maybe worse per 9s, because I do think the slider's a way better pitch than, say, a curveball is or a four seam on this type of pitch mix, but that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. Roy Halladay is amazing, and if you use this early game card, you'll love this one. It's the same thing, just way better. Right after Roy, we have a card very similar to Roy. Again, the per 9s are a little bit worse in terms of the hit per 9, but he's way better at K per 9, so he's going to strike out guys a little bit more and get some more swing and miss to him. And he also has a circle change, which is a direct upgrade on the splitter. It's a much better pitch than the splitter this year, at least in my opinion. And he does have a slider, so you're getting rid of the curveball for the slider. That is a big, fat W. The slider is also a pretty good difference from the cutter, so they have two unique speed slots in that. Going to be really nice. Four seam, sinker, and circle change. This is just a perfect pitch mix pretty much. The only issue is that Cueto doesn't throw the ball very hard either. He is kind of funky in his arm slot and his delivery. We've never had a good Johnny Cueto before, so it's definitely a guy that a lot of people have not had years and years to time up. So that's why he's on this list, especially so high. He's going to be here at number 6. Johnny is a dog, and I can't believe he got this good of a card. Shout out to you. At number 5 on this list, we have 99 overall finest Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns has just always been a great pitcher. I mean, he has outlier on some pitches. Some years they put it on both. Some years they put it on just one. This particular card has outlier on the sinker and only on the sinker. And that is really nice. He does not have outlier on the cutter, so there is going to be a pitch like a speed differential between the two. That is elite. Some of the other ones that haven't been as good have had outlier on both, and now they have the same speed and gets a little bit harder to tunnel and all that. He has curveball and circle change and slider as well. This card has a great thing that he doesn't have the four seam. Eliminating the four seam allows him to have bigger pitch mix, so now he is able to throw that curveball in there and a slider as well, so he can get you going on different ways, different pitches, different timings. This card's just really good. I've always really liked Corbin Burns cards, and he's never had a card with 122 hit per 9, and now, or it's 120 at P2, it's 125. It gets up to 125 at P5, which is unreal. And he's going to be able to dot you up too. He also pitches from the stretch, which is really nice if you want to get some rhythm going in your pitching. I'm just a big fan. I love this guy. He's number 5 in this list. At number 4, this might be another hot take, but I have Jacob DeGrom. Jacob DeGrom is such a great pitcher in MLB The Show. He has outlier on his fastball, slider, changeup, curveball, and a two-seam. I wish his two-seam was just something else. I mean, that's obviously the way it goes. He's lucky to even get a two-seam realistically. He's going to be maxed out per 9s just at P2. He'll be 125, well over 110 BB9. So he has really good control on all of his pitches. Again, the outlier, he's a little bit worse than he was last year, the Demon DeGrom that we all knew, because outlier just got nerfed in general. So sometimes that four-seamer is not going to be hitting 102, which does definitely bring him down. He doesn't have a sinker. He doesn't have a cutter. Those are probably two of the better pitches in the game. But an outlier fastball and a slider are really good pitches to have. He's going to dot you up and really be able to control games. I do think having him be as good as he was at the end of MLB 20, pretty much all of MLB 21, and now he's back in this one, does bring him down just a little bit. And I also just found him a little bit easier since not every fastball is coming in at 102. So at least in my experience, I've hit this DeGrom way more than I've ever hit the old one. You guys let me know. Do you think he's better? Is this the first, second, third best pitcher in the game? I have him at number 4. I think it's a pretty fair spot for him. I still like DeGrom. He's in my starting God squad. So the number 3 the starting pitcher in the game is 99 overall Corey Kluber. This should not be much of a surprise to anybody who's ever used or hit against a Corey Kluber. He is incredibly annoying. He has two completely different deliveries from the stretch and the windup that makes him both difficult to hit from, and it kind of switches up mid at bat and mid game sometimes if we're putting people on. It's definitely very interesting. He gets over 120 per nines on all of them. He's going to have 110 ball per nine at one more parallel P4, so he dots wherever he wants. His sinker is incredible. His slurve might be the best off-speed pitch in the game. A slurve is such a good pitch, especially compared to like a 12-6 curveball or a normal curveball. The slurve gets so many strikeouts. His cutter is way slower than the sinker and the four seam. I don't use his four seam too much. If I had one true complaint about Corey Kluber, it's that he even has a four seam at all. That's just, again, the nature of it. And his changeup is also really, really good. This guy is just different. He is so hard to hit. It's been a couple of years now where he's been a menace, and I love getting them every year. Corey is number 3 on this list. At number 2, we have 99 overall Justin Verlander. Verlander is such a hit or miss guy. Some years they give him a great card, some years they don't, but we are going on 2 consecutive years of Verlander getting an amazing, amazing card. One of the best right-handed pitchers of this decade, of the last couple decades. Outlier on the fastball, 12-6 curve, slider. It's a hard slider too, which is really nice. Circle change, and then his cutter comes in around 95 miles an hour. So you have very different speeds between pretty much every pitch besides the 12-6 and the circle change. But those, you're not going to really use the 12-6 too much. At least I don't too often. He gets to be max per nines as well, 125, 125. Couple that with outlier, one of the hardest throwing guys in the game, especially with that slider. And then he does have that one thing that I think DeGrom lacks, and it is a sinker or a cutter. He has a cutter. DeGrom has a 2-seam. I think the cutter is just a way better pitch, so it really helps out Verlander in the long haul. He's just amazing, and if you guys used his card last year, you know, and this card's pretty much the same thing. So give him a shot if you haven't already. I think he's an event card, so go get 5 wins in the event, get a flashback, and you'll get him. He's worth a lot, and he's really good. And to absolutely nobody's surprise, the best pitcher in the game is 99 overall, perfect game, Randy Johnson. The one issue I'll say is that we've been seeing Randy pretty much all year. So if you're a top player, you might not agree with this call because, again, you've seen Randy all year. His arm slot is weird. The fastball feels like it's 1,000 miles an hour. The slider is a really hard one. It's hard to time it up versus the slurve. Even though all the pitches, you kind of know where they're going to move, it's really hard to hit. And now he just has max per nines. This isn't a fun time. Nobody wants to see this. SDS, why'd you do this to us? A perfect Randy Johnson. They say nothing perfect doesn't exist. It's this guy right here. If you're even lucky to have him, because there is a waiting room to get him, he is the World Series, the last World Series card. So he's sitting at 1 million stubs, 1 million people waiting for him also. I don't even have him, but you don't need to have him to know how good this guy is. If you're one of the lucky ones, you have the best pitcher in the game. I don't think it's particularly close. So there you guys have it. There are a bunch of pitching options for you to have. If you have any of these guys on this list in your God Squad, I just don't doubt you at all. I'm pretty sure you're going to be having a good time, unless the guy you're playing is just teeing you up, which definitely happens a lot. There's some really, really good players and really, really good hitters in this game. But these are the pitchers that are likely going to get you in the best position to succeed. If you guys agree with this list, again, leave a comment down below. And if you want to know why I think some of these guys are better than some of the other ones, let me know. Maybe I'll explain it to you in the comments. Maybe we can make another video on that as to why I think certain pitchers are better than others in general. I think it's more or less straightforward, and I think I did a decent job explaining it as to why I like them here. So if you guys agree with that, let me know again. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next Waifu Ju video. Till then, peace.